Here's how I transformed my Instagram feed from this to this, and how I create, organize, and manage my Instagram photos. Managing social media presence and content can be a full-time job. This can be a real challenge if you already have a full-time job like I do. So we want to be as efficient as possible. So here's the process I've found that works for me, and it'll work for you too. There are a few prerequisites. You should already have your branding colors by this point. If you haven't done that, there's two key things you want to keep in mind when you're choosing these. First, think about your content. What are your pictures going to look like? What's going to be primary colors in those? If you're camping a lot, you're probably going to have a lot of green grass in your pictures. If you're skydiving, you're going to have a lot of blue sky. If you're working on Ferraris, red's going to be a primary color. Second, search for any chart on emotions associated with colors and find what best fits your brand. Every color is going to have some pros and cons, so take it all into consideration, the colors of your content with the emotions you want to generate from your brand, and put it all together to decide your brand colors. For me, I like the cool effect of black, white, and blue. They describe chrome, like on a chopper. They are very common in a lot of motorcycles and motorcycle shots. Blue's the color of the sky for these outdoor shots with the bikes or cars I do. And I have blue eyes. But I also have the sexy red accent in my colors. For contrast with the others, it's a lot brighter. It stands out with the black, white, and blue. Plus, red, white, and blue is synonymous with celebrating your freedoms. The next thing, if you haven't done it, is think about your weekly scheduling for your hashtags. For me personally, I do a Motivation Monday quote, I do a YouTube Tuesday, I do a Wednesday wheel, and I do a Throwback Thursday. And then for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I do whatever may be relevant to events going on, something I'm doing that weekend, or just whatever kind of fits the feed. People like quotes, something clever, something that, inspires them, and they'll like to share those around, so it's good to do one of those a week. If you're on YouTube, a weekly YouTube is very important to do for consistency as well. And a throwback is good because you get to recycle those old awkward photos, but in doing so, you're showing a bit more of your past and being more genuine, and that's going to help you connect to your fans more. You also need to choose a photo editor software if you haven't done that yet. Now for me, I like the Adobe suite, so I'll be using Photoshop for all the demonstrations today. Let's start with your quote posts first. Once you've chosen your brand colors, you can use solid background colors and use those for your quotes. For me, I tend to use black for my background, but I don't want to do just a solid black background. So what I tried to do is find some backgrounds that were not distracting from the quote, but fit the theme better for my brand. I took nice high quality photos of black scenes. I have leather, I have tire tread, I have my dog's fur, and I have a guitar amp. And all these again are just something to add a little bit more personality to my quotes. And then I took these photographs and I made multiple background layers in my Photoshop template for quotes, and I can switch those on and off and make a variety as I create my content. Ideally, people will be sharing your quotes with their friends. So you want to make sure that you get credit when that material that you generated is going around. So if you haven't done so, you need to create a logo, make sure it speaks to your brand, and make sure it has your brand colors. Again, since I use the Adobe suite, I used Illustrator to generate mine. And once you have your logo, I just drop it bottom dead center on the quote post, and that's in my template, so that always shows up. And that way when it does get shared, everybody can see that you're the source of that. Now you need the actual quotes. The more you come up with yourself and be original and genuine, the better it's going to be. This can be hard at first if you're not the most creative or you don't feel like you have the ability to come up with clever quotes. But when you do think of something like that might make a good quote, then write it down or send yourself a text or make a note on your phone or whatever you need to do so that you have that information. For me, I have 2 books and a movie. So I tried to use quotes from them because not only is it using my own material, but it's also helping spread the word about the books and the movie. I started to build a base by just doing a web search for quotes related to racing. And of course, you get a whole pile of them, and that provides a good start. So I put them in Excel like this, and I have them all listed out. And then I added my book and movie quotes. And now if I hear anything in a song or a movie that's sort of related to my brand, I make sure to make a note of it, add it to my list, and keep building that content that way. I always credit the source, and that includes myself. If I'm the one that said it, or I wrote it in a book or whatever, then I'm going to put that there too. So you always want to show that. And a lot of times it's anonymous, and that's fine. But always make sure that you're not taking credit for someone else's work. Plus, if you quote somebody else or you quote a movie, you can use a hashtag for that person, and that also helps cast a wider net for your post. Once I had my list of starting quotes, then I needed to start creating the actual quote posts. So I went back to my template where I had my different backgrounds, I had my logo, and I picked several fonts that I like the look of, that kind of fit the brand and the feel and stuff, and are most importantly easy to read. Don't pick something that's so bizarre nobody's going to be able to read it. If they can't read the quote, they're not going to understand it, they're not going to share it, they're not even going to want to look at your material because it shows a lack of attention to detail. Then it's just a matter of batching out a whole bunch of these posts on quotes. So I just went through and varied my background, varied my font, pulled the quotes, inserted them in there, always had the logo bottom dead center, and was able to create a whole lot of quotes. And if you're only doing one a week, all you need is 52 of them and you've got a year's worth done. It's always going to be more efficient to batch everything. Think about the amount of time it takes to go into the program, pull this new quote out, stick it in there, and add everything, versus if you have your template and you just rip through a bunch at a time. It's going to save you so much time in the big picture, and it takes stress off because you're not worried every week like, oh, I need a new quote, it's Monday or whatever. Now you need photographs. I'm fortunate that I've been playing with cars and bikes for years now, so I have plenty of material. In addition, I'm always taking more. I can grab my camera and I can be out in the hill country on a motorcycle and take some cool photos out there. When I drove the 911 to Atlanta a while back, I took my nice camera and made sure I got some good photos out there. Get a good mix of your products, your interests, and yourself. Convey yourself in a way that's consistent with the image you want to create of yourself and the way that you want your fans to see you. If you're a health guru, don't post a picture of yourself at 2 a.m. drunk in a McDonald's snarfing down a fat burger and fries. You're conveying an image. It's important to be yourself, be natural, but show well. It's a tricky balance for sure. Don't have every selfie filtered so much that you look like a CGI character, but take a little pride in yourself. If you don't care enough to show yourself well and look presentable, then why should your fans care about what you're doing? You don't care about them effectively is what you're saying, and I know that sounds harsh, but that's the way it's read, so why would they care about you? If you want to be in the public eye, you should really focus on trying to be a positive example, and that means taking care of yourself, looking your best, and not going overboard. And yes, this is Rich coming from a guy that needs a haircut, a shave, and is sitting here in his gym clothes. But the gym shirt's blue, and that means it complements my eyes. For your products or your prop shots or whatever you want to call them, a big piece of poster board is what I use for my black background on that stuff. Very simple, or I could lay it down on like a leather coat or something if I wanted to fit that theme. I have folders to organize all of my projects. So I separate by bikes and cars and books, whatever. And then within, say, the bikes folder, I'll have each of those bikes. And in there's a pictures folder, and each event or place I went is captured in there. So now what I do is I take a whole lot of those pictures that I have, and as I take new photos, I also put those in to be filed kind of area. I have an Instagram folder, and in there I have a posted for everything I've already posted. I have a quotes for all the quotes I've done that are ready to post. And then I have a pics for all the pics that are ready to post. Within the pics folder, I also have a to process folder. And what that means is it's all the pictures I've taken from my old shots to my new shots to whatever, regardless of topic, and just dumped them into this folder. Now the sizes are going to vary. Some are going to be portrait, some are going to be landscape. There'll be a variety of different color palettes in there, but it's a starting point to take all those and make them Instagram suitable. I don't ever modify the original photos. So think about long term, right? You like having those original photos for one thing, But you may find that today it's Instagram, and Instagram requires a square layout. Next year, there may be a new social media platform, and it may require portrait or it may require landscape. Right now, my branding colors are this, so I need to filter to those branding colors. A couple of years from now, I may change my brand and I may have different branding colors. So don't modify the original, make copies, put them in the in process folder, and work with them from there. Now, in order to process the pics, I also have a template for this in Photoshop. It's already got the proper aspect ratio, the proper resolution. So I just drop the pics from here over to here and size and arrange how I want. The next thing I do is filter out yellows and greens because those are the two colors that show up that are not my brand colors. If there's any big lighting changes I need to make, I can do them at this point as well. But it doesn't have to be perfect because Instagram allows you to do some editing before you post too. Once I have the photo processed the way I want it, I can export it from Photoshop into the pics folder so that it's one more that I have as an option to post. Again, batch these for efficiency, keep plenty of material so you have a lot of options when you're ready to post. When it comes to posting the pics, I do an alternating pattern of dark and light, so it kind of looks like a checkerboard. That's why I don't worry about finalizing in Photoshop, because when it comes time to actually posting it, I may want it to be a little bit darker or a little bit lighter to make it fit the feed. I tend to choose a pic early in the morning because you have different fans that will look at Instagram at different times of day. So maybe I post it to the feed at lunch and then to the story after work. As far as my YouTube pics, what I do for those is I take the thumbnail that I made for YouTube and then I crop that down to the Instagram square and adjust everything so that it gets the message across when I post it to my feed and story. If you have a pic that just doesn't fit your color palette, but it's strong content you feel, you can post that to your story and that's fine because in the story it's just that one picture. You're not going to see it next to the other pictures like in your feed where it'll clash or not look right with a color that doesn't fit your palette. For example, I have this photo that I've done. It's a black and white with a focus on the yellow, and you can see the gold in the shocks and some other parts. I like the photo. I think it's strong content, but it doesn't fit my feed. So I'm still going to use it and post it in my story, but not in my feed. You also want to extend this to your highlight cover photos. So you can see in my highlights across here, I've got kind of a theme where I do a wheel for everyone that's appropriate. And I, again, try to follow my branding colors and the general consistent look. Think about what you post. It's a little bit more important now because before when I was sloppy, if I wanted to go back and delete a picture with an X or something that was a touchy topic, then you just delete that picture and move on. But now, because you're doing dark, light, you have a pattern. So if you delete one picture, you're going to have to delete the one either before or after it as well. So make sure you think about your content before you post it. This example should at least give you a good starting point of the system that I've found for creating, organizing, and managing my Instagram photos that you can use as well and get you started. And you're going to find your own path and your own process. You may want to look at schedulers or other tools as well. This is what works for me, and it should be a good starting point for anybody new to this or just wanting to improve their Instagram presence. While this video only covered Instagram photos specifically, I'll get to work on a video showing how I manage my videos for YouTube and for Instagram. So subscribe to my channel if you want to make sure you don't miss those when they release too.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.